Hey, everybody, welcome to Tuesday. And we're back, the great return of the show. My name is Stuart Davis. I am a flawed man of God. I'm a deacon at a small church just outside of Richmond, Virginia. I'm not a pastor. I'm not a biblical scholar. I haven't been to seminary. I'm not trying to get you to join my church or donate to any special cause. What I'm here to do is talk about God, talk about Jesus, talk about the Holy Spirit, talk about the Bible, talk about Christianity, talk about a wide variety of topics, issues, and current events, and give you my perspective on them, one that I think reflects that of an average Christian guy. I've been a Christian all my life, 40 years non denominational Protestant. I don't subscribe to any particular doctrine or denomination, just in the Word daily, trying to do it the best way possible. Get better every day. Sometimes I do it, sometimes I don't. But either way, you're going to see me here giving you my honest takes on things, my honest perspective on it. So, if you are somebody who is interested in learning more about Christianity, if you are curious and looking for meaning, if there's a voice in the back of your mind wondering if there's more to your life than just this existence here on earth, welcome to the show. Glad to have you here. Hope you have a good time. I hope you get something fulfilling out of this. Stick around, and maybe I can help give you some insights and some influence from my experience and from what I've learned and from maybe what the chat has to say. There's a lot of misconceptions and stereotypes surrounding Christianity, mostly from the poor acts of us Christians that hopefully I can correct for you. Lots of people think the Bible is a collection of, very dry, very very judgmental rules, and there's not much to it other than guilt and judgment. And while you'll see judgment, you'll see rules, you'll also see a great many other things. Um, rich, rich narrative, a full range of um, emotional events, betrayals. You've got armies fighting armies. You've got angels. You've got God. You've got an origin story. You've got a Messiah. You've got prophecy. You've got songs and proverbs. You've got revelations. You've got salvation. You've got sacrifice. You have love and grace. All these are contained within the book that we read from most on an almost daily basis. And you'll find that there's way more to the Bible than likely you ever thought once you start to dive deep into it and read it as we do, um, from cover to cover, and not just pull out a verse here and there. Then you'll find that that's very enlightening, even for Christians who have never done it this way. Um, lots of folks thinks that lots of folks think that church is just a place where sanctimonious, self-righteous people gather to look down on other folks, to treat as a social cult, and and take advantage of others at the same time. Some people think it's a money grab. Some people think that it's just a place for abusers to hang out. And look, to be honest, we do have our share of bad actors within churches. But there are good churches out there with good cultures and great congregations, great leaders, great pastors who can help guide you on the correct path to salvation. And hopefully, if this stream gets you to go get into a church, you'll find somebody maybe a little bit like me, maybe not at all like me, but somebody who can help welcome you in and teach you all there is to know properly, and not give you the the layperson approach that I offer here, um, to a relationship with God. If you are already a Christian and you just enjoy Christian topics and discussions, welcome as well. Glad to have you here. We have a great chat. We've got a great, comfortable, relaxed, informal setup, very similar to maybe walking into a Wednesday night study group or a Sunday school. We try to get to know each other. We have a group of regulars that hang out in the chat, and we'd love for you to be one as well. Whether you are an established Christian, new to it, or just thinking about it, just want to hear what you have to say. Give me some feedback on what you're hearing. What am I saying that you agree with? What do you disagree with? What am I doing right? What am I doing wrong? How is what we're discussing hitting you? What does Scripture say to you when we're covering it? What experiences and insights do you have that you would like to share? It's all welcome here in the chat. And we've got, like I said, good group of folks here in and day out. And with that said, Nico, a return to normalcy. First in the chat, although it was over a half hour ago. Alias, welcome, and Porcupine Mayhem. Guys, if you were expecting me to be recharged for this, you were sadly mistaken. I have been on the go since we last spoke on Wednesday evening. Thursday night, I took a trip up to Philly to go hang out with my brother, and it was a blast. Look, I eat like a king in Philadelphia, but this weekend in particular was great because I ate so much I couldn't even really drink too much. Even if I wanted to, I was too full. We did a bar crawl, St. Patrick's Day. My brother's birthday lands around that same time period, so we usually use that as an excuse to go up and visit, hang out, celebrate his life and his and our friendship with him, our relationship with him. And we go out on the town a little bit. And we start about noon and we end whenever we end. It was much earlier this year. Much earlier this year than it has in years past. All this got cut short in 2019, 2020. We had been doing this since 2013, 2012, at least me. My brother and his friends had been doing it a couple of years before me and my wife joined in, and some of his other friends. Been doing this for a long time. And unfortunately, when COVID hit in 2020, right before we were getting ready to go up there, the lockdown started. Philadelphia itself locked down. There weren't any restaurants to go to anyway. At that point, we were even worried if we left to go up to Philadelphia, if we would even be allowed either out of the state of Pennsylvania or into the state of Virginia. That's how crazy everything was. If you guys can recall what things were like early in 2020. So it's been on hiatus. And last year they did a trial run. I think me and my wife were preoccupied, unable to do it. We didn't really set it up. But this year we got back to it as we used to, and we are much older now. We are much older now than we used to. So where we used to stay out almost till midnight, I think we were back at around 8. But I wasn't anything else for me to do. I was full. I had eaten my fill. We started out there. I got this huge thing. They called it they called it the brunch burger. And it was a burger with, it's basically, it's it's your typical fried egg, but it also had pork on it as well, and bacon and cheese. It was great. Had some fries with that. Had about 3 drinks, and then went to the next spot. Had some more to eat. While I was there, had some mozzarella sticks. Then went to the next spot, and then which was a brewery, but they had a lunch truck there. and I had a cheesesteak. To answer your question, Alias, I had a cheesesteak while I was there. I always get a cheesesteak when I'm in Philly. I don't really eat cheesesteaks outside of Philly now because they're never the same. They're never the same. You can go to the Delaware Valley, maybe someplace in New Jersey, and get things that can be classified as an authentic cheesesteak, but you're not finding it down in Virginia. You're not. Our water doesn't have the right collection of bodies in the river to draw out of to create the bread with the flavor that it does. And but I had that. My brother got these things. They called them the food truck was a little on the risque side of it. I mean, a lot of the names for the dishes were adult themed, and these were Irish balls, and they were these large, probably about a fried ball this big that was in essence shepherd's pie, and it was he got 3 of them in his order, and so I asked if I could have a bite. That was amazing. The cheesesteak was great. It was, and at that point I just couldn't eat anymore. Been eating all day. And I couldn't drink because since I didn't have any room in my stomach, I couldn't drink anymore. And then I was tired. Then I was tired, and it was too much. So we headed back. I took a quick nap, and then we all chilled and everything. And we were down there got down there Thursday night, hung out Friday, did a couple of things, just really low key day. Then Saturday is the day proper. We hit the town, and then Sunday we went to brunch, and that's where it really got good. So we went to what they called like a farmer's market, local farmer's market, really more of a flea market style thing. Really more of a flea market style setup where you just have booths and people are selling stuff. And they had a couple of food trucks there. That was the reason specifically where they had a food truck. I think it's Waffles of Philly or Philly Waffles House or something like that. Can't remember the exact name, but they serve different waffle dishes with ice cream. And so we were kind of doing that as hey, it's kind of brunch, but it's really kind of a dessert. It's, that's the whole, the end of our gathering was the celebration of my brother's birthday and, make it a dessert. So when we get there, we're getting ready to order that, but then we're like, yeah, we're kind of hungry too, just hungry for a real meal. There's another food truck next to there, and they've got a chicken and waffle sandwich. Guys, I love chicken and waffles, and it looked delicious. So I'm hyped. I'm like, yep, gonna get me one of those, and then I'm gonna get another waffle with ice cream on it at the place that we were destined to go. They also, and I've meant to grab some on the way out so I could eat them later, a fried dumplings food truck, but I didn't hit it up. I heard those are really good as well. But as I was going through the menu, there's a pork roll, egg and cheese sandwich, breakfast sandwich on a brioche bun. And I'm like, oh, I like pork roll too. I looked at my brother and I was like, I really like that pork roll. This is the sound of that pork roll. And he goes, look, you get chicken waffles in a lot of good places. Getting a good pork roll down south, hard to do. So you might want to go with that. I said, you're right. So he ordered the chicken and waffle. He ordered the chicken and waffle sandwich, and then I ordered the pork roll sandwich, breakfast sandwich, and his comes out. And so the waffle, there's a waffle on each side. That's your sandwich, right? And then in the middle, there's the fried chicken that's like glazed, completely covered, but glazed in syrup, and bacon on top of it. And I think there's another ingredient that I'm missing, but you're looking at that syrup glaze on that chicken, and you're like, oh my goodness. And so I said, I immediately regretted my decision. I was like, I should have gotten that. I should have gotten that. I hate this. And then my order came out, and I opened the box, and inside is it's as guys, it was as good as it looked. Pork roll sandwich with ham, egg, cheese melted on there. The brioche bun was toasted just a little bit with some garlic, I think, buttery garlic kind of on, smothered on it. Oh, it's hard to eat that with a beard of any type of dignity. But I didn't have any dignity. I didn't care about my dignity at that point. I just wanted to eat. So I sat down and destroyed that thing. And I'm so happy that I did. So that said, then I had my waffle with the ice cream. I got the s'mores order. So it's waffle, graham crackers, marshmallows, and then chocolate drizzle, and then I got chocolate ice cream in there. So I had that. I couldn't eat all of that. I couldn't finish that. I had about a third left over when I finally threw in the towel, and that was it. And a diet coke, yeah, get a diet coke. No, I was drinking water. I brought my trusty water jug with me, and antacids, plenty of those. So that was my week. Had a blast as always. I love going to Philadelphia. I'm excited about going up there next month for Road Rage to meet friends. We got another buddy who's probably of mine that's probably coming up. So it's going to be a chat reunion of sorts between me, Nick, and our buddies, and we'll have a great time. I don't really care too much about the show. The show's okay, I guess. The show will be okay. I'm sure I'll enjoy myself, but dude, I just like to go up there to eat. Just want to eat. I don't care about drinking anymore. I just want to eat. It's going to be what kills me. So, with that said, hope your guys' weekends was great. Glad to have you guys here. Nico, alias Porcupine Mayhem, Dresden, Carl, my boy in Virginia, Texan Italian, and there we have it. It's been a while, guys. It's been a while. We had a break. And last night I had softball practice and soccer practice for my son. So we won't have to worry about soccer and softball interfering over the summer. They'll both land on the same day. But I'm excited to get back to you guys. But I am a little drained. And partially because I was eating dinner late last night because of softball practice. Eating a dinner late. Listen, and so I tuned in to friend of the show and fellow chat member Blaine's Escape Corner. I was on Blaine and I was listening to Blaine, and then he said something about not being able why rewatch things after you finish them. And I was like, why would you not watch something that you really enjoyed? I can understand you watch it if it was meh or if it was something you didn't enjoy, but if you really enjoyed it, why not watch it again? Why not watch it again? And I used it as an example, Lord of the Rings. And look, I haven't been watching Blaine since the beginning. I tune in now and then because he's a great host. Great host, got a great channel, guys. If you're into anime at all, please check out his channel. It's awesome. It's criminally undersubbed and underwatched. But I mentioned it and entered some sort of deep lore on his channel, and he has opinions. So once he did that, I had to get involved. And so I crashed onto his stream, and we had a lot of laughs, but I ended up getting to bed pretty late because of it. But he's a great dude, and glad that he is as gracious a host, allowing somebody like me to crash in there and talk and run my mouth about things as he is. So again, if you're anime at all, Blaine's Escape Corner, great place to be. It's got his own decent chat. There's a lot of LOLing on there. And so it's been a long day today. It's been a long day, which I might add, guys, if any of you guys want to be prayer warriors, could use some prayers for my family. Just some things that we're looking at in the coming days that can be trying. We would love to have. We would love it if God continued to bless us the way He has throughout the existence of my family, throughout my charmed life and my family's existence. We would really just appreciate any prayers that you can send our way. I would be very thankful, and so would all the other folks involved in what specifically I'm referencing. And with that said, we are back in First Chronicles. Folks, and we are going to be talking about Saul. We're going to be talking about Saul a little bit. We're going to talk a little. We're going to end a lot of the genealogy, I believe, could sneak up on us later on during our read through, as it sneaks up on us from time to time. We thought we were done with this, right? We went through it a bit in Genesis, went through it enough, some more in Numbers, went through it some more, I think maybe in Joshua. Snuck up on us here. All of a sudden out of Chronicles, 8 chapters. And now we're on chapter 9, and we're going to go a little bit of that, and then we're going to get into Saul. And it's not going to touch much on Saul. Tonight's discussion, tonight's reading is going to be a little bit about the genealogy of Saul and then Saul's death. And then chapter 11 is when we really start to pick up some more speed. First Chronicles is 29 chapters. So we still got 19 chapters after tonight to really discuss things. So what I want to do is kind of, since we're rehashing a little bit of First and Second Kings and rehashing a bit of, in this case, of Saul, let's take a little bit of time to talk about Saul as we see him, which we've done. But I'd love to get your guys's I would like to get some feedback from you guys on what y'all think about when y'all reflect on the life, origin, development, and ultimate fate of Saul, King Saul, the first king of Israel, the first of 3 kings of all of Israel. But what you think about him? What kind of impressions does he leave with you? And what do we get out of his life? So we'll start with chapter 9. Start to chapter 9, First Chronicles. All Israel was listed in the genealogies recorded in the book of the kings of Israel and Judah. They were taken captive to Babylon, because of their unfaithfulness. No, all of this is true, but especially true right now. All Israel was listed in the book of the genealogies, or all Israel was listed in the genealogies recorded in the book of the kings of Israel and Judah. I feel like in Chronicles, all of Israel has been included. I feel like I read off the name of every single man, woman, and child, and maybe some of the pet donkeys or chickens of the Israelites as they were leaving Egypt. I feel like I gave a full accounting of them. But we're not done yet. The people in Jerusalem. Now, the first to resettle on their own property in their own towns were some Israelites, priests, Levites, and temple servants. Those from Judah, from Benjamin, and from Ephraim and Manasseh who lived in Jerusalem were Uthai, son of Ammihud, the son of Omri, the son of Imri, the son of Bani, a descendant of Perez, son of Judah. I think these are guys, once the conquerors, in this case the Babylonians, came through and removed the Israelites and placed them in the exile, this may be a reference on who's resettling, like, some of the people who were left behind and start to resettle, because some of that happens. We'll learn more about that in Ezra and Nehemiah. Of the Shelonites, Asaiah, the firstborn, and his sons. Of the Zerahites, Juel. The people from Judah numbered 690. Guys, the people from Judah numbered 690. That many people are left of Judah, the great nation of Judah, with tens of thousands of men at arms. Now the people from Judah number 690. Decimated. Of the Benjamites, Salu, son of Meshullam, the son of Hodaviah, son of Hodavia, the son of Hasanua, Ibneah, the son of Jeroham, Ella, son of Uzi, the son of Mikri, and Meshullam, son of Shephatiah, the son of Ruel, the son of Ibnijah. Good night, guys. Look, maybe part of the reason was that you were conquered is God got tired of trying to say y'all's names. The people from Benjamin, as listed in their genealogy, numbered 956. All these men were heads of their families. Of the priests, Jediah, Jehoiarib, Jachin, Azariah, son of Hilkiah, the son of Meshullam, son of Zadok, the son of Mariaioth. It's got to be Mariah. The son of Ahitub, the official in charge of the house of God. Adiah, son of Jeroham. And now I'm tripping up over stuff I know how to say. Adiah, son of Jeroham, the son of Pashur, son of Malchijah, and Masai, son of Adiel, the son of Jazira, the son of Meshullam, the son of Meshilemith, the son of Emer. The priests who were the head of their families numbered 1,760. 1,760. They were able men responsible for ministering to the house of God. Okay, maybe I'm reading this wrong. Maybe this isn't the folks that are left behind. Maybe these are heads of household. Which is kind of mini tribes, which changes that equation a whole lot. Of the priests, Jediah, Jehoiarib, Jachin. I already read that part. Of the Levites, Shemaiah, son of Hashub, the son of Azrikam, the son of Hashabiah, a Merarite. Bakar, Haresh, Galal, and Mattaniah, son of Micah, the son of Zikri, the son of Asaph. Obadiah, son of Shemaiah, the son of Galal, the son of Jeduthun, and Berechiah, son of Asa, the son of Elkanah, who lived in the villages of the Netophathites. Whew. The gatekeepers, Shallum, Akub, Talmon, Ahiman, and their fellow Levites. Shallum, their chief, being stationed at the king's gate on the east up to the present time. These were the gatekeepers belonging to the camp of the Levites. Shallum, son of Kor, the son of Abiasaph, the son of Korah, and his fellow gatekeepers from his family, the Korahites, were responsible for guarding the threshold of the tent, just as their ancestors had been responsible for guarding the entrance to the dwelling of the Lord. In earlier times, Phinehas, son of Eleazar, a man, was the official in charge of the gatekeepers. I wonder why. And the Lord was with him. Zechariah, son of Meshelmiah, was the gatekeeper at the entrance to the tent of meeting. Altogether, those chosen to be gatekeepers at the thresholds numbered 212. They were registered by genealogy in their villages, of course, because of course they were. The gatekeepers had been assigned to their positions of trust by David and Samuel, the seer. They and their descendants were in charge of guarding the gates of the house of the Lord, the house called the tent of meeting. The gatekeepers were on the four sides, east, west, north, and south. Their fellow Levites in their villages had to come from time to time and share their duties for 7-day periods. But the four principal gatekeepers, who were Levites, were entrusted with the responsibility for the rooms and treasuries in the house of God. It sounds like they didn't do their job all the time. They would spend the night stationed around the house of God because they had to guard it, and they had charge of the key for opening it each morning. Some of them were in charge of the articles used in the temple service. They counted them when they were brought in and when they were taken out. Others were assigned to take care of the furnishings and all the other articles of the sanctuary, as well as the special flour and wine and the olive oil, incense, and spices. But some of the priests took care of mixing the spices. A Levite named Mattathiah, the firstborn of Shallum, a Korahite, was entrusted with the responsibility of baking the offering bread. You better do a good job. This is for the temple. Some of the Kohathites, their fellow Levites, were in charge of preparing for every Sabbath the bread set out on the table. Those who were musicians, heads of the Levite family, stayed in the rooms of the temple and were exempt from other duties because they were responsible for the work day and night. Woo. All these were heads of the Levite families, chiefs, as listed in their genealogy, and they lived in Jerusalem. The genealogy of Saul. Now, here we go. Jael, the father of Gibeon, lived in Gibeon. His wife's name was Maacah, and his firstborn son was Abaddon. Not Abaddon for you 40K folks. Abdon. Followed by Zur, Kish, Baal, Ner, Nadab, Gedor, Ahio, Zechariah, and Mikloth. Mikloth was the father of Shimeam. They too lived near their relatives in Jerusalem. Ner was the father of Kish, Kish the father of Saul, and Saul the father of Jonathan, Malchishua, Abinadab, and Eshbaal, the son of Jonathan, Meribbaal, who was the father of Micah, the sons of Micah, Pithon, Melech, Tereah, and Ahaz. Ahaz was the father of Jada. Jada was the father of Alameth, Asmaveth, and Zimri. Zimri was the father of Moza. Moza was the father of Biniah. Raphiah was his son. Eleasa his son, and Azel his son. Azel had 6 sons, and these were their names: Azrikam, Bokeru, Ishmael, Shariah, Obadiah, and Hanan. These were the sons of Azel. So, while much of Saul's family, I think, was wiped out at most times, it seems to have survived. Hey, Matt Felty, welcome. It has been a while. It's been a while. It's been a while for all of us. All right. So then we'll get right into basically the end of Saul. Saul takes his life in chapter 10. So much more happens. But we'll start at the ending. Now the Philistines fought against Israel. The Israelites fled before them, and many fell dead on Mount Gilboa. The Philistines were in hot pursuit of Saul and his sons. They killed his sons Jonathan, Abinadab, and Malchishua. The fighting grew fierce around Saul, and when the archers overtook him, they wounded him. Saul said to his armor bearer, Draw your sword and run me through, or these uncircumcised fellows will come and abuse me. Nobody wants to be killed by uncut men. But his armor bearer was terrified and would not do it. I get the impression that his armor bearer, and why it's mentioned here, might be to some credit and honor to the armor bearer. I have a duty to protect you. I'm your, kind of your bannerman here. I'm right here with you through the fighting. I'm not the person who needs to kill you. And you telling me this worries me. It is not my place to kill the king ordained by God. That needs to come from somebody else of much higher station than myself. I think this is what his reaction is. I hope so, because I think that's a very honorable place to find yourself. But his armor bearer was terrified and would not do it. So Saul took his own sword and fell on it. When the armor bearer saw that Saul was dead, he too fell on his sword and died. So Saul and his 3 sons died, and all his house died together. When all the Israelites in the valley saw that the army had fled and that Saul and his sons had died, they abandoned their towns and fled, and the Philistines came and occupied them. The next day, when the Philistines came to strip the dead, they found Saul and his sons fallen on Mount Gilboa. They stripped him and took his head and his armor and sent messengers throughout the land of the Philistines to proclaim the news among their idols and their people. They put his armor in the temple of their gods and hung up his head in the temple of Dagon. When all the inhabitants of Jabesh Gilead heard what the Philistines had done to Saul, all their valiant men went and took the bodies of Saul and his sons and brought them to Jabesh. Remember the men of Jabesh Gilead. Then they buried their bones under the great tree in Jabesh, and they fasted for 7 days. And here's the end part. Saul died. This is scripture. This is not me pontificating or whatever. This is verse 3 of chapter 10 of 1 Chronicles. Saul died because he was unfaithful to the Lord. He did not keep the word of the Lord, and even consulted a medium for guidance, and did not inquire of the Lord. So the Lord put him to death and turned the kingdom over to David, son of Jesse. So what are your thoughts on Saul? We have the ultimate post-mortem on why Saul's reign came to an end. It's very clear in verse 13. Saul died because he was unfaithful to the Lord. He did not keep the word of the Lord and even consulted a medium for guidance. That part was particularly bad among some other things he did that were particularly bad. But he basically summons Samuel. Let's see. He summons Samuel from death. And things are not good, running well for him. The Philistines assembled, so we're going back to 2 Samuel, or 1 Samuel, actually, I think. Yeah, the very end of 1 Samuel. Now Samuel was dead, and all of Israel had mourned for him and buried him in his town of Ramah. Saul had expelled the mediums and spiritists from the land, as he should have, right? Because there was a time where Saul was obedient. It didn't last very long, and it wasn't 100%, but he did do some things he was supposed to. However, Philistines start assembling, and they're set up camp at Shunem. Saul sets up camp at Gilboa. And here's where Saul makes kind of his last mistake. He's going to fight the Philistines. He's supposed to be a representative of Israel, the chosen tribes of God. He sees the Philistine army, an army he's seen before. It's not his first time in battle. Saul was a heroic warrior in many respects. Made very questionable, very bad decisions. But he had smelled the smoke, so to speak. He sees he knows the power that God. He looks at the Philistine army and he is afraid. Terror filled his heart. And he inquired of the Lord, but the Lord did not answer him by dreams or Urim or the prophets. So he needs to talk to God, but he hasn't quite gotten it through its head that God's done talking to him. God's done talking to him. Saul needs to figure things out and come back to God. Until he does, doesn't have anything to do with him. But that's not enough. Saul's either not convinced, or he's just desperate, or he's scared, and he makes this mistake. He asks people to find a medium, right? And somebody said there's one in Endor, where the Ewoks play. But because he had expelled them all, he disguised himself and goes with two of his men and goes to this medium, this psychic. Let's call her Cleo. And he asks her to consult the spirit and bring up for me the one I name. But the woman said to him, surely you know that what Saul has done. He has cut off the mediums and spiritists from the land. Why have you set a trap for my life to bring about my death? Saul swore to her by the Lord, as surely as the Lord lives, you will not be punished for this. Okay. She's not supposed to be doing that. God's going to punish her, just not right with you. But you better be careful about what you've just been commanded to do. Then the woman asked, whom shall I bring up for you? Bring up Samuel. Samuel, one of the great prophets of the Lord. He's right up there with Elijah and Elisha. Bring up Samuel. Because Samuel spoke for God often. He knew Samuel had the Lord was in Samuel's ear often. When the woman saw Samuel, she cried out at the top of her voice and said to Saul, why have you deceived me? You are Saul. The king said to her, do not be afraid. What do you see? The woman said, I see a ghostly figure coming up out of the earth. And what does he look like? An old man wearing a robe is coming up. Oh, okay. It's Obi-Wan Kenobi. Never mind. We don't have to worry about it. He's going to say some stupid Jedi stuff and nobody's going to care. There is another Skywalker. Because of that, Saul knew it was Samuel, and he bowed down and prostrated himself with his face to the ground in an effort to humble himself. But this isn't impressing anybody. Samuel said to Saul, why have you disturbed me by bringing me up? I am in great distress, Saul said. The Philistines are fighting against me, and God has departed from me. He no longer answers me either by prophets or by dreams. So I've called on you to tell me what to do. Samuel says, why do you consult me now that the Lord has departed from you and become your enemy? The Lord has done what he predicted through me. The Lord has torn the kingdom out of your hands and given it to one of your neighbors, to David. Because you did not obey the Lord or carry out his fierce wrath against the Amalekites, the Lord had done this to you today. The Lord will deliver both Israel and you into the hands of the Philistines, and tomorrow you and your sons will be with me. The Lord will also give the army of Israel into the hands of the Philistines. and he was despondent. I mean, he lay down on the ground. He was shaken. And who wouldn't be? You're going to die, and your kids are going to die, and your army's going to lose. However, Saul does this at the end. In the end, he does put his boots on. Yeah. He still goes to fight the Philistines, and maybe that was the problem. Maybe he should have pulled back. Maybe he shouldn't have fought. Maybe that was a sign. I don't know. So much of Saul's actions, Saul did a great job choosing the wrong thing to do, making the wrong choice. Sometimes, oftentimes, earnestly making the wrong choice. He makes the wrong choice because he thinks it's the best to benefit him and God, right? It makes him look good as opposed to genuinely inquiring of God and genuinely following the rules. Saul is, in my opinion, the way so many of us would be if we were thrust into the limelight and into power and the trappings of being the king, the expectations, the responsibility, all of that. We don't grow up and be David. We don't do the things that we see David do. Maybe in our dreams, maybe in our imaginations, we envision ourselves as heroes of God, charging the forces of evil and hacking them down in his name. But how do we act on a regular day-to-day basis? Oftentimes, it's much more similar to the way Saul behaves. Now, we're not murdering entire towns, and we're not deliberately disobeying God. But how many times do we make the wrong choice, knowing it's probably not the best choice, knowing it's not what God really wants us to do, has commanded us to do, but it's close enough, we think, because it helps out. Maybe we don't tithe. This is this is an issue I struggle with. We don't tithe. Well, I've got other bills, and God wants me to be happy, right? I that's 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 why maybe I'll give some, but I won't give actual 10%. I won't give them the first of what I earn, the best of what I earn. I'll give him something, or maybe nothing, right? Isn't me coming to church enough? Isn't me volunteering enough? Isn't me um, having a YouTube where I try to spread the good news and talk about God's word? Isn't that enough? Doesn't that make up for things? That's not what we're commanded. If God decides he wants us to give us a pass, then he can. How many times do we cheat somebody? This is actually not a part that I really struggle with. But how many times do folks cheat somebody because it puts them in a good position, and it probably won't hurt the other person. They'll be fine, right? They'll land on their feet. But I need this right now. How many times do we give in to addictions? How many times do we give in to lusts? How many times do we give in to many of the things that we want to do, and we try to rationalize it? And we see Saul do that many times. Many times, but as we're told, Let's see. Let me see where I can get this whole things. Put all this into perspective. The Philistines assembled to fight Israel with 3,000 chariots, 6,000 charioteers, and soldiers as numerous as the sand on the seashore. They went up and camped at Michmash, east of Beth Aven. When the Israelites saw that their situation was critical and that their army was hard pressed, they hid in caves and thickets, among the rocks and in pits and cisterns. Some Hebrews even crossed the Jordan to the land of Gad and Gilead. Saul remained at Gilgal, and all the troops with him were quaking with fear. He waited 7 days, the time set by Samuel. But Samuel did not come to Gilgal, and Saul's men began to scatter. So he said, "Bring me the burnt offering and the fellowship offerings." And Saul offered up the burnt offering. Just as he had finished making the offering, Samuel arrived, and Saul went out to greet him. "What have you done?" asked Samuel. Saul replied, "When I saw that the men were scattering, and that you did not come at the set time, and that the Philistines were assembling at Michmash, I thought, now the Philistines will come down against me at Gilgal, and I have not sought the Lord's favor. So I felt compelled to offer the burnt offering." "You've done a foolish thing," Samuel said. "You have not kept the command your Lord God gave you. If you had, you would have established your kingdom over Israel for all time, but now your kingdom will not endure." No, this is not the one. This is not the part where I was talking about. Where is the Samuel rebuked Saul quite a few times. What's going on, Neo? Welcome to the party, pal. I didn't read these from Alias earlier. I should have. Don't cross disobey God, especially when he puts you in charge and you know the reality of your actions. And then said more times than we will admit to. Times where we act like Saul. Saul, I think, is the most relatable. And the unfortunate, he's the hard truth of where we so often end up. Here it is. I think it is. Here's the one. Samuel said to Saul, "I am the one the Lord sent to anoint you king over his people Israel. So listen now to this message from the Lord. This is what the Lord Almighty says: I will punish the Amalekites for what they did to Israel when they waylaid them as they came up from Egypt. Now, go, attack the Amalekites and totally destroy all that belongs to them. Do not spare them. Put to death men and women, children and infants, cattle and sheep, camels and donkeys." Fast forward a little bit. Then Saul attacked the Amalekites all the way from Havilah to Shur, near the eastern border of Egypt. He took Agag, king of the Amalekites, alive, and all his people he totally destroyed with the sword. But Saul and his army spared Agag, and the best of the sheep and the cattle, the fat calves and lambs, everything that was good. These they were unwilling to destroy completely, but everything that was despised and weak they totally destroyed. Then the word of the Lord came to Samuel: "I regret that I have made Saul king because he has turned away from me and has not carried out my instructions." Samuel was angry. He cried out to the Lord all that night. Early in the morning, Samuel got up and went to meet Saul, but he was told, "Saul has gone to Carmel. There he has set up a monument in his own honor and turned and gone down to Gilgal." When Samuel reached him, Saul said, "The Lord bless you. I have carried out the Lord's instructions." But Samuel said, "What is this? What then is this bleating of sheep in my ears? What is this lowing of cattle that I hear?" Saul answered, "The soldiers brought them from the Amalekites. They spared the best of the sheep and cattle to sacrifice to the Lord your God, but we totally destroyed the rest." "Enough," Samuel said to Saul. "Tell me what the Lord said to me last night. Let me tell you what the Lord said to me last night. Tell me." And so he said that. "But I did obey the Lord," Saul said. "I went on the mission the Lord assigned me. I completely destroyed the Amalekites and brought back Agag, their king." The soldiers took sheep and cattle from the plunder, the best of what was devoted to God, in order to sacrifice them to the Lord your God at Gilgal. So he's saying, I did what I was supposed to do, and we took this stuff, but the only reason we took it is because it was great, and we didn't want to waste this stuff that the Lord had this Lord's creation, and we took the best of this stuff to sacrifice as a burnt offering in honor to God. So I'm doing this in honor to God. But Samuel replied, "Does the Lord delight in burnt offerings and sacrifices as much as in obeying the Lord? To obey is better than sacrifice, and to heed is better than the fat of rams. For rebellion is like the sin of divination, and arrogance like the evil of idolatry. Because you have rejected the word of the Lord, he has rejected you as king." Oddly enough, for rebellion is like the sin of divination. And we go all the way to the end of Saul. Why do you consult me now that the Lord has departed from you and become your enemy? The Lord has done what he predicted through me. The Lord has torn the kingdom out of your hands and given it to one of your neighbors, David. And we look back at how this is recorded in First Chronicles, chapter 10. Saul died because he was unfaithful to the Lord. He did not keep the word of the Lord, and even consulted a medium for guidance, and did not inquire of the Lord. So the Lord put him to death and turned the kingdom over to David, son of Jesse. And to round this out well, let's look at the beginning. Let's look at the beginning of Samuel. Let's look at the beginning. Well, this is First Samuel, but let's look at Saul at the beginning. There was a Benjamite, a man of standing, whose name was Kish, son of Abiel, son of Zeror, son of Becherath, son of Aphiah of Benjamin. Kish had a son named Saul, as handsome a young man as could be found anywhere in Israel, and he was a head taller than everyone else. And we start with a good deed after that. We start, the people like Saul. He's a nice, affable guy. But after that, once he's anointed, he becomes fearful. Fearful. You can be fearful of the Lord. You cannot be fearful of your responsibilities. A man fearful of his responsibilities is not a man who is going to rule well. And we see that from Saul. He's fearful, even though God has entrusted this to him and said, I've got your back. Now, I'm not a Calvinist. Very much a free will Christian. I could be completely wrong with this, but this is how I put this into perspective. God has given us dominion over our lives, right? We can make these choices. We can choose how to rule ourselves. We have to do it, and we have responsibilities. But God has told us He has our back. He's looking out for us. Whether things go right or wrong, He's standing behind us. He just wants us to obey His words, and they will lead to blessings either in this life or the next, or both, or neither, depending on our actions. Do we rule our own lives like David? Do we rule them like Solomon? Do we do it like Asa? To quote or to name one of Neo's favorite rulers that we covered. Do we rule like Josiah? Hmm? Do we rule like them? Do we rule like Hezekiah? Or are we more like Saul? We don't need to be Ahab's and crap, what's that guy at the end? Manasseh, king of Judah. We don't need to be them. We don't need to be pure evil to fail. Just be like Saul. Just don't obey. Just kind of do things for ourselves. Saul came before Jesus. So maybe if Saul had seen the Messiah in action, or been left with um, the gospel, maybe he would have ruled differently. But we do live in that time. We live in a post gospel era. We know what the sacrifice is. We know that there's salvation. The thing we need to do we need to avoid that Saul did was give up and stop seeking the Lord. We need to continue to strive to be better. Continue to strive to obey God. Don't give up, and always seek Him. Right? That's our episode for tonight, guys. After this, we start into David. After this, we start into David. Again. We'll have some fun. Plan on streaming Friday, Wednesday, and Thursday night, especially. Maybe Friday. But Wednesday and tomorrow and Thursday, I will stream. Glad I made it for some. Glad to have you, Neil, always. Glad to have all you guys. It's always good. Always good to have a break. But it's always good to come back. It's always good to come back, and even more so to see that everybody else is coming back too. Matthew, Neo, when he can make it, Alias, Nico, Texan Italian, Carl, Dresden, Porcupine. I said Carl, didn't I? Anyway, it's good to see you guys coming back. Day in and day out, episodes. It's whatever. It's not me. It's the word that's got you guys coming. I know this. But I'm glad I can be the voice. I'm glad I can be a personality. Glad I can be the color guy as we go through this. It's fun. And I get a lot out of this. Get a lot of joy out of this. Nia said 2 jobs is whipping my ass. Lol. It'll do that. It's been a while since I've had 2 jobs, but I have done it before. But dude, mind that salt. Put that work in. Do what you got to do. Nalius, great reading. Thank you for your time, everybody. Hit like and subscribe, and that's a great way to start rolling out. Guys, if you like the stream, if you enjoy the channel, like it. If you haven't subscribed to it yet. The best thing to do is share it. Share the stream with friends, strangers, with anybody you think can do this or can enjoy this or will get something out of this show. Share it. Share it. I do. I talk about it with people probably until they think I'm stupid or full of myself. Yes, you are the Don Meredith of Bible color commentary. That's kind of what I was going at. Not necessarily Don Meredith, but be color commentary to the Bible, right? I just want to say what many people are thinking, but just share it. If you get a lot out of it, if you enjoy it, you share it. Sometimes people will listen to it. Sometimes people won't. But you never know. You might be the person to put somebody onto what I say. And just me being here and reading this, it puts things into perspective. And then you and I both end up being vehicles for somebody's salvation, vehicles through God for God's work. And that's pretty cool. All right, guys, to all you guys I named off earlier, thanks for being in the chat. Thanks for all the great, just dropping by and saying hello. Just let me know you're there. Alias, go get something to eat, man. Go get something you enjoy. It might be a little late for anything other than fast food, but I don't know what time zone you're in. Either way, I hope you get something to eat, right? I'm gonna get some rest tonight. I'll probably be able to take things, get some extra energy tomorrow, and be bright and bushy-tailed as we start back with cheese and crackers. So we start back with David, and we get back into things like David's mighty warriors on tomorrow's episode. All right, guys. Thank you very much. I'll see you next time. In the meantime, have a great night, good night, and God bless.